For more content like tonight's episode, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti Facebook page, the Al Nicoletti business page on Facebook, the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel. Of course, you can find it under Al Nicoletti. You have all the amazing guests that have been on my podcast and show, the Al Nicoletti Show, which is on iTunes and Spotify. And you can find all the great micro content, the videos, the quote cards of all the great people, and all the amazing videos and content on partitions, probate, quiet title, all the different things in the real estate world with law. It's all out there. So make sure you check it out and enjoy the show tonight. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in the community that educate, entertain, and inspire all things Florida real estate on how you can take your company to the next level. I have a very special guest on my show tonight. I know she is so pumped to be here. She's been waiting a whole week. She's backstage. She's ready to go. I have on my show tonight Marisol Felix. She is the acquisition liaison of Cash Geeks LLC. Cash Geeks, the big investors, wholesalers in Northeast Florida that are killing it and crushing the market, buying up like a storm, and they are going and dominating the market. And speaking of Dom, we'll get there soon, Dom. But she is incredible. She hustles. She works super hard, and she is the wife of Dominic Felix, the CEO, the co-founder of Cash Geeks. She loves what she does. She's the mother of 3 awesome kids. So it's interesting. I get guests time to time that are just investors or real estate adjacent or real estate people. But Marisol is also super mom. She is a super mom, and we're going to talk about work-life balances and how she does it. So stay tuned for that. And she's part of a huge investing company that is on pace to get to $1 million this year. Yes, they're going to get there. They have a goal, and they're going to get to those numbers. I see her backstage. So on the show, Marisol and I are going to talk about how she is the wife of a very active investor and the fact that they work well together. I mean, it's hard to work with your spouse. It's not easy when you go in every day and then you come home. It's you can commingle those lives. So she's going to talk about that and how to balance life, kids, and business, and the challenges that she and Dom endure with this, and the challenges that Marisol faces within her role. So she has a huge role in Cash Geeks, and it's convincing sellers over and over and again about getting into properties or dealing with problem tenants, crazy probates, and helping sellers out with certain scenarios. Like Marisol's the type, she wants to solve the problem. How do you get there? How do you do it? What do we need to do? Do we have to set this for hearing if it's an eviction? And the challenges of supporting 4 separate departments in the company. So she's not just part of one department in the company. She's part of 4. And how does she do that? And we're going to kind of go through what it's like when you walk in Cash Geeks, the culture that's in Cash Geeks, and how they're making it happen and growing and scaling their business. But most importantly, and you got to stay tuned for this, most importantly, how Marisol is the backbone of Cash Geeks and how she's the boss inside the office and outside the office. We'll make sure we tune in for that. We'll find out the answers to how that is. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Marisol Felix. Marisol, love having you. Love seeing you. It's so nice to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. First of all, that's awesome. I'm very honored. I know, very honored to be on the show.
Thank you. I love seeing you. I love having you. I usually kind of go through this with my guests. I think the first time you and I met, correct?
Mm-hmm. It was literally a month, but in Jacksonville, it was like 2 weeks wait before I can get the next exam. And then I was like, nah, I'm going to just drive to Gainesville and do it there.
So what did you learn by overcoming the different times you couldn't pass it? How did you get over that hurdle? Because I didn't know about that story. So like there's people out there that are looking to get into real estate, whether being on the acquisition side, the investor side, but a lot of realtors, like what mentally did you go through to get to that point of saying, okay, enough is enough. I'm ready to take it on and pass it?
I literally blocked myself out from everyone. I studied in the closet for hours. I put myself in my walk-in closet with a pillow, blanket, and my book. And I just said, do not bother me. I closed all the doors. I said, luckily, my mom was here in town. So I was like, I am going to just focus, and this is my thing. I'm definitely going to make this happen. And by the third time was the charm.
Third time the charm. There you go. What was that motivation though to get into the investing? Like, did you all have any other business? Like, were you a part of what Dom was doing before?
I was, and when I was pregnant with my second child, Dom Jr., I decided I wanted to, I thought I was going to be ready be able to do it. I was like, oh no, because Emily was already like 6 years old, and I'm trying to balance her after school life and have a newborn. And I'm like, you know what, I was working with him with a cut above, very part-time. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to let you handle this. I'm going to stay home, be the stay-at-home mom. I support you 100%, whatever you need to do. But right now the kids need me. But like I said, and then when I saw that he was, the real estate fire was in his eyes, I'm like, I got to get into this. I'm gonna jump in here too.
So husband gets motivated. He's ready to go with doing all of this stuff. You see the vision of what he sees. You both jump in together to start working on this business, which was RLA before Cash Geeks. So how have you made it this great partnership working in that office with Dom? Like how did you figure out, what did you need to do, that secret sauce to making it a family run business or family business, working in the office and outside?
For me personally, I just had to realize that in the office, he's not my husband. We're partners, we make it work. I know I joke around with him and I say, at home, I'm the boss, but here you're the boss. So I kind of respect his input. Like if he tells me, oh babe, could you get on the call, do this, and this. Okay. So I respect that. So I'll go ahead and do that. But at home, I'm the boss. If I have to say something, I expect you to do the same, So that's why I try to leave any home life at the door before we walk into Cash Geeks. And when we have any Cash Geeks problems or anything, office stuff, I try to leave that at the door at our house as well.
That's
good. We talk business at home, but I try to make sure to leave unnecessary stuff at where it belongs, home and at the office.
I can almost see you have a nail on the door with a sign. It says Boss Dom, and then on the other side it says Boss Marisol. And when you walk out the door, you flips, and you come in, it flips the other way, and it's like
I should.
There you go. Now you have a new strategy to really keep the boundaries there. But what is it really like working in the office with Dom and Gonzalo and that family atmosphere that's in there? What is that like? Because I know you all hang out even outside the office. It's so unusual because when you're around the same people all the time, you all know each other's likes and dislikes, but you all have your own space and boundaries. How do you truly make that work for even you?
I just, it's funny because my particular department, I'm my own department basically, but I take direction from Dom and I take direction from Gonzalo. So I look at them as, I'll, depending on the situation and where we're at in that part of the deal, I'll go to Dom if it's something on the acquisition side of hey, we haven't gotten to this property yet. I need you to, figure out what's going on here. Or if it's already in the disposition side and I'm still having issues with the tenant, I'll get with G, So it kind of in the atmosphere, it's funny because, I've never thought I would have a boss that's half my age, younger, but, at the same time, I respect that. And it's I call him an old soul, we get along really good. And me and Dom, every now and then, a joke in the office, I'll pretend we're button heads and I get the sales guys riled up. They're oh, look, she's with Dom. I'm no, I'm not. It's fine. Like I said, I try to keep it balanced and make it work.
I love when the Brooklyn thing comes out, New York's that accent comes out. So it's really coming out now as we get to the show. And so later we'll get even more animated. So I love it. It's Marisol. It's who she is. It's fantastic. So speaking about that working relationship with everybody in the office, what is going on in Cash Geeks is really unique. You don't see that anywhere, right? So I even had in my notes about Cash Geeks culture. when you walk in that office, like I even feel it now, like you walk in there, it's like this is not just an operation. This is a motivation. This is encouragement. This is we want you to get to the next level. There's like, let's get it, let's get the deal. You walk in, and I've seen it progress too, because I remember the older office. I remember what was there, and now I see it, and you got the poster boards of encouragement. You have the charts that are showing like where you are with money and where it's progressing. So what has been like, how is that happening? Like, what are you all doing? Are you all meeting on a monthly or weekly basis with team meetings? What is that?
Well, the sales guys, I believe, meet every morning, and I meet with G. I think on average about twice a week. We'll go over any problem properties, any issues that I might have on my side. The dispositions team meets almost every morning, and and the transactions at least twice a week, depending on how busy they are, and they've been slammed. And actually, I believe we're at almost 1.7 for the year. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
1.7 gross.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it's been, pretty active, and, like they try to meet as much as possible, try to get everybody like, what are our issues? What do we have to do? And so to me, the meetings are very, very important, because that way we know our problems, we know our hurdles, what we have to get through. And, we have, what properties need probate.
Of course, right? We always have to know that. You sit in the meetings and you're thinking which properties are probate, and we know where to go. So it's fascinating talking about meetings, because I just hit me in my head. I had Whitney Ritchie on a previous podcast early on in the show, and I remember how she said in her business, in the culture in that office, they had like a weekly meeting called like speed bump and light bulb. So it would be talking about like, what did you learn? Talking about what did you do? And then the speed bump is like, was there something that prevented you from getting to that next level? So I can see how that probably happens in the office, really hashing it out, having those meetings. And what other steps are you doing with like steps in that office to make it a winning team, to get to those huge numbers? Like, are you all like, I see the bell in there. That's encouraging, right? Because when you get a deal, I think the bell rings. But are you all always analyzing the data that comes in on those charts?
Oh yeah, I mean, there we have our display boards. We have the leads that come in, the deals. Our acquisition closers are doing, and then we have our what deals have closed, and we have a little thermometer showing where we're at for the year, and actually every property with how much we've made on each property and the date it's closed. And I believe there's another board coming up, and I believe that's going to be for dispositions, but I think they're still working on the connection spreadsheets for that one. And then, yeah, and so it's pretty much holding each department accountable. Like the numbers are up there, the pressure's on, but we have fun. We have our fun Fridays. We have our once a month, putt, for an hour we shut down and just everybody hangs out and plays putt. And then we have our, quarterly vision meetings to make sure what's the next quarter going to look like, and what's the goals, and, what's new and who's new and stuff like that.
I could see that conversation being driven, like what's happening, what's next, what's the next goal. And you brought up a great word. It's something in the notes that I wanted to talk about. You brought up dispositions. And so I pay attention when I go to these meetings and people are talking. And I went to the vendor palooza, and Gonzalo, he was up on the panel. And he was, I think they were telling us like, or asking the question about, how did you change your business model in 2020? And then Gonzalo spoke, and G said something about how 2020 changed the way you did your model in your business, that you weren't so focused on the acquisitions. You realized you had a huge disposition benefit. And now the goal is to really partner up with people on acquisitions to get to the dispositions, because you have a strong buyer's market. So what does that look like? Like, what is that side to it? Because you're on acquisitions. So talk to us about like what's so strong about the dispositions that you can help people with acquisitions.
I mean, to be honest, we have a strong buyers list. We have repeat buyers that know us and trust us, and we've also worked closely with joint ventures. Like we have Hayden, who's there, who helps out of state wholesale companies that lock up deals in Jacksonville, and we help them sell the deals to our buyers because it fits their criteria. So, I mean, there's different ways that we're getting these deals, and those are, we have hedge funds. So it all kind of meshes well, and it's been working and proving to be a good track.
Yeah, because it sounds like you have to have a strong disposition team in order to get there, right? So, so you have that in Cash Geeks. Like Cash Geeks, how long did it take to build that disposition side to the business?
Right now we actually have 1, 2, 3. I have to count. Actually, I have to count because so we have 1, 2. So and we have new people actually training right now, and I'm trying to figure out when, but probably within the past year, it's just been like that whole side has been just blowing up. They know these buyers have known to grow and trust us, and get the good deals for them, and it's just like, okay, what's next? When's the next deal coming? I'm ready. And these properties are pretty much like what I feel that these are pretty much just like selling themselves in their way, but because they've known and grown to know and trust us, it's just being sold, it's just, they're killing it in that department. I'm just like, every day I'm getting buyer found. I was like, okay, good.
You have to build that trust, right? Like you have to build that trust with all those buyers, because is there like a certain type of buyer that Cash Geeks is looking for? Is it flippers? Is it just like buy and holds, or it really depends on the type of house? Like, how do you determine that?
I mean, it's a mix. I mean, it's between hedge funds, it's between buy and hold and flippers. It's all like, it's a mixed bag. And luckily for us, it's been a great mixed bag. It's just working, So, and like I said, it's just a name that people are growing to know and trust.
Right.
And plus, every week of seeing, Dom and G on Facebook, people are like, oh, the little guy and the bald guy. Hey, they're the great team. They got good stuff going on.
The little guy and the bald guy. When I see them, I'll make sure that's a quote. We'll make that a quote card actually for the episode. That's great. So talk to us about how you're supporting 4 separate departments in the company. So, right, you have the dispositions, you have the acquisitions. What are the other 2? And how are you managing between all 4? Are you supervisor of all 4?
I wouldn't call myself the supervisor of all 4. I call myself like the mom. I joke. I'm like the office mom. I am the oldest female in the office. And next to Dom, I'm the oldest. Well, I think I am the oldest person in the office now. We have new people, so I really don't ask that. But and with acquisitions, I help them make sure we can get in the properties. If we have any issues with tenants, if it's probate, I jump on it early. Like, you start to learn what things are on the deeds, to where it's like, oh, we need probate and stuff like that. So I double check. And then with dispositions, sometimes I'm even negotiating with these tenants. Okay, well, we really need the property vacant by such and such time. So I'm working on that part. And then transaction coordinating, sometimes, I'll jump in and help them with closings because I am a notary. So I will go to sellers' properties and do closings at, sellers' homes if needed. And, so it's just, I am pretty much not all over the place in a bad way, but I have knowledge in each, pretty much a little. And I did do dispositions in the beginning, but I mean, at that point, I didn't see myself as a salesperson. But now in my position where I'm at, I'm actually really into sales, because I have to convince sellers, hey, we need to get in again. Tenants, hey, we really need this vacant by this time, and I'm just literally selling, my point of view to them.
So just as a background, overcoming the challenges and stuff with sellers, tell us a little bit, what is acquisitions for those that don't know what an acquisition part of a big investor team is? Like, what does that look like? Is that the intake, that's the inbound call, or the cold calling, or what is that?
Well, that's basically we have the cold callers that, call the sellers and be like, hey, do you want to sell your home? But, you have this, you want to, sell it. Most of the time they're, oh, I'm not thinking about it. You know what? I'm kind of, thinking about it. This tenant's driving me nuts, So then the acquisitions guys lock it up, and that's when, so that's where that part comes in. So they acquire the deal for me to get it over to the disposition so we can sell it to our end buyer.
Very cool. Because there's
and Warren just said Matt coordinates the field department too. Yes, I do make sure his schedule is within reason. I try to make sure, okay, if he's at an appointment at 10 in 09, there's no way he's going to be at an appointment in Orange Park at 10:30. So I have to make sure I give him enough time for travel, kind of like a dispatch pretty much, make sure that, he can get to his appointments in an orderly fashion within due time.
Yeah, because you're not even trying to operate within the office. You're trying to also coordinate about on the ground, boots on the ground outside the office. So there's a lot of different coordinating that you're doing. But really, your big role is the acquisition side. And I love what you said. You love that sales part, and that's your role. Like, you tried the others and you realized that's your strong suit. So something that I know you wanted to talk about is the challenges that you face with sellers, tenants in different situations, and going over it and over it with some of the sellers that really don't understand. Hey, your title's really messed up. Like, you have something that you need to do here. Or, hey, I know you want to sell the property, but do you realize you got a squatter in that property and you can't get them out? Like, right? How many times have we seen that where, it's one seller, no problem whatsoever, except you can't get it done because there's somebody in there, right? So how are you overcoming those challenges and overcoming those objections and getting through to them?
Well, for a prime example, the one property that we have, and I know you remember the street name. I could obviously give the street name, Steel Street. We have seller lives in Atlanta, family squatting in the house for 15 years. And we thought it needed probate. Apparently it didn't. But now we're working with the aunt and uncle, or aunt and aunt, I guess the aunt's boyfriend that's living there, to vacate the property. At first, we try to offer cash for keys, which means, like, if you move out, at time of move out, we'll give you actual cash in hand to move. They were not having it. Warren has knocked on the door a million times. Hey, we've offered cash for keys. They were very like, no, we're not leaving. Then we had to step in and do an eviction. Once the eviction was getting ready to go to hearing, then they finally lawyered up, and then we came to an agreement for cash for keys. So we're right back to where we were. So that's, I'm working that. Then we have probate. Luckily, like, we had the last few probates have been pretty easy, so, just those challenges. A lot of times, leases are invalid, or tenants, don't want to pay, and the seller lives, across the country or not even in the country. And those are the challenges we deal with. And we're like, hey, if you can be out by this such and such time, we can give you cash in hand at, as long as you can vacate the property, because we're purchasing it. And a lot of times it works, believe it or not. Money talks, and it could be simple, anything from, we'll put the deposit down on the next place for you, or, here's $300, and it works. It's crazy, but yeah.
So two things. Tell everybody about the strategy that you have when you find that kind of squatter situation. Like, how are you handling that in the Cash Geeks in the room? And then number two, tell us a story about the craziest situation you ever had to come across, where you had a seller and they just didn't get it, but you helped pull the deal over the finish line to eventually get them under contract, get it through dispositions. What did that look like?
Let's see, I'm trying to think, because I don't actually lock up the deals. Like I said, I just coordinate with them to make sure we can get in and do our inspections. But a lot of times, and it's funny because I know our sales guys explain the process to them. I hear them all day. I mean, I could probably, reiterate verbatim on how much they tell, this is the process. We have to get in to do our inspections. We may need to get in. And I even, in my opening call with them, I tell them, we have a first inspection that may be 20 to 25 minutes. but we may need to get in the property X amount of times with our investor partners, and I tell them contractors and this and that prior to closing, because we like to get eyes on the property, because once it's closed, depending on which way we go, whether it's a flipper or buy and hold, they want to get their numbers straight before closing so they know what they're dealing with, right? I got to deal with a lot of, I didn't know we have to get in again, or how about you just buy it sight unseen, just walk the property, you can't go inside. I don't want my tenant to know I'm selling. So when that happens, we offer the whole, we're in the insurance company approach. I'll even put on the calendar, I'll tell Warren, do not wear a Cash Geek shirt, change your shirt, we're playing insurance, and then the second and sometimes third visit even, they'll be like, how did I come in again? I'm talking to the tenant. I'm like, well, we are an insurance company, but we price it out to different insurance agencies. So it could be, Geico, I don't know. I'm just throwing out names here. It's funny because I never thought in my life that I would be able to come up with these lines to get in. And by that point, the seller's like, oh, wow, I didn't think of it like that. That's a good idea. So I just go with it, and we managed to make it work. It's sometimes I'm like, am I even believing what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we get the deal done, and if the tenant's paying, most of the time they're cooperative. And like I said, sometimes we do deal with tenants that are like, no, this is my house, you're not coming in. I'm like, but you haven't paid rent in 7 months. How is this your house? So every house it's a different case. It's crazy.
I remember when I had Tom on, they said one of the biggest deal killers or issues that they had were tenants not letting you in the property. So here we go again.
Right. And even for that, we've had times where we had to offer tenants money for each showing. We've offered, hey, can we get back in the property? She's like, well, if you could bring me coffee and cigarettes. I'm like, deal, got it. You want Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts? What's your preference? Well, bring it. Warren has actually bought cigarettes and coffee to a tenant just so we can get in and do our showing.
Really?
Yes.
Make it work.
Sometimes it's the littlest things that make, to make people happy, you just got to do it, whatever works. Mm-hmm.
Find it, make it happen. And so because you have that sales side to you, talking to these sellers, right? How do you get into that personal level of conversation with them? Like, are there any strategies or tips and tricks that you have to really get to that rapport, that conversational level between you and them to get to that next step?
With tenants, I put myself in their shoes. I understand. I've been a renter. I've been a homeowner. I know what it's like. And especially if they have children, I can relate 100%. I have a kid in the background. Oh, you have kids? Oh, yes, I do too. I have 3, blah, blah, blah. We'll start talking. And then it's crazy because once the deal gets the transactions, they're still calling transactions looking for me. And I'm like, well, I'm past this point, even we had deals closed and they're still looking for me. But I'm like, no, we're past this point now. You need to speak to so-and-so or so-and-so at title even. But, I try to put myself in their shoes, and I try to bring it to a level to where, I'm human, we're human. I can understand. I'm not some, big wig sitting in behind a desk in corporate America. I'm like, literally, I am in your shoes too. I've been there.
And just really talking to them, getting personal, trying to get them to understand that you're here to offer them help on getting that property sold and doing it. So let me ask you this, what is the secret to this business, this operation of it seems like there's a system, you've automated it and you've really made it grow. What is that? Constantly talking and communicating and collaborating, because I think Cash Geeks is really far away from the competition. I think it's very unique. You set yourself apart, and it just seems like a big team that everybody recognizes, right? I'm on the phone yesterday and somebody was just starting in acquisitions. They're not a real estate agent. They're not a broker. They're really getting in on the investing side. And I remember that thing that G was talking about at Vendor Palooza. And I was like, oh, if you ever have a problem with dispositions, I'm like, you got Cash Geeks that you can be with and partner up with, and they can really help you on that side. And they were like, oh yeah, the geeks, Cash Geeks. And so the brands out there, the names out there, what is that secret?
Each department, well, we have a deal flow. So the acquisitions guys lock up a deal, and then it comes to me, and then I start the deal flow. So basically, I start our virtual file. They even have their own agendas, like what they have to do each day. Each department has an agenda and what they need to do. So the deal flow basically starts from when I get the property. I make sure I look up, A, B, C, and D. Then once, Warren goes out in the field, he has a checklist and that deal flow. He has to make sure he takes his pictures. There's a condition report that he has to fill out and stuff like. Sometimes if it's a live sign, if he has, make sure to check off, was it a live sign or was it, just a lockbox on the property, stuff like that. Then it comes back to me, and then I put all the information. Make sure we have a lease. Make sure there any tenant information. I check for certain things in regards to the house. Is it on septic? Is it on city water? Is it a mobile home VIN numbers, stuff like that. I try to catch that all before we get to closing because we don't want it to get to the title company. And then we also start early title in most cases. If we know it's a deal that's going to move quick, or we know that we have our buyers that's going to buy this up really quick, they'll request title. Even like once I get done with my stuff, Dispositions will request early title. And then before I even find the buyer, find that it might need probate or it might need quiet title, anything like that. Any title issues that might come up, we try to get it early, jump on it. And I've actually learned to read through and see beforehand, how it's worded on the appraiser and how I'm like, okay, well, a little red flag. And if I see who signed and why is it this person, I'm like, I'll go to the acquisition guys and I'm like, okay, John Smith signed, but where's Betty Smith? And they're like, oh, Betty Smith's deceased. Do we have probate? Do we have anything like that? No. Okay, red flag, got to get it rolling. So I try to catch that beforehand before it gets to dispositions. And then once they get it, that's when they work their magic. They run their comps, they start marketing out to VIP buyers and stuff. So the deal flows help and the agendas help kind of systemize everything for us. And it's been working.
Smart, because a lot of people don't understand the concept of title commitment and reviewing things on the property appraiser, reviewing all the key things to look out for if you're going to run into this situation, right? So one, where did you learn that process of check the deeds or check the property appraiser or pull title early? A lot of people don't pull title early. I've had 2 probates in the last week where somebody was like, oh, there's 7 heirs and they only had 1 on contract. And I'm like, where's the other 7? What's going on here? And so where did you learn how to find and do that stuff early in the deal?
It's funny because I like to, I don't know what to call it, be nosy, but when I'm the appraiser, I'll go back to all the sales history and I'll start reading, okay, where's this, where's that? And if I go into the tax records and notice that the name on the tax side might be, the liens and taxes might be different than the name on the appraiser. I'm like, I kind of trained myself, but the guys also, the early title stuff, the guys started doing that with dispositions and get that ball rolling. And it's just something I just started playing around with it and just started peeking and kind of self-taught, to be exact, to understand. And then I know you've come to the office and explained to us on what to look out for. And so that kind of helps too. So kudos.
Well, good. I want to make sure that you know what to do when you run into that situation. You have to, for those that don't know, you got to really pull title up front, right? And so it's really smart what Marisol's saying is that you need to be prepared. You need to do some research up front, not at the end when you're all happy you got it under contract, and then you go to closing and you find out it's this and this, you haven't done this. There's wholesalers, investors out there that they may not even be from Florida, and they'll think they had a deal locked up and they were missing a probate. They're missing 4 sellers. And it's you need to do this research and get in with your title company that you really like so that they can help explain this stuff, or even venturing and joint partnering with Cash Geeks that sees this on a daily basis is huge when you're doing your deals. So I really appreciate that you do that, because even in what I see, I'm like, no, we're not doing any probates until I see that title commit. We're not doing anything. So smart, Marisol. I'm glad that you see that.
I've even like, it's funny because I've even learned to like create an account in the core system to look up, you know, the acquisition guys will be like, oh, this seller says this property is going to be going to, you know, to foreclosure soon. Can you look up when it's going to happen? I'm like, okay, say no more. I joke around, kind of remind myself of Garcia from Criminal Minds. So I sit there and I'm like, with the 4 screens. And I'm like, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, actually it's going to, you know, it's foreclosing on the hearings on this such and such date, you know? And they're like, how do you do? I'm like, I got it. Don't worry. Just let me know. I got it.
Huge to look that stuff at. Like foreclosures, when it's going to auction, when it's going to tax deed, huge. So let me ask you this. In what Cash Geeks has been doing in the vision of where it's going, what market do you see are heating up in Florida? Like what kind of niches or markets are you really tackling more so now than even last year?
I mean, it's crazy, but to me, it feels like Jacksonville's still big. You know, it's like crazy, you know, because Jacksonville's the, you know, the next big thing. I just read an article actually from, you know, I'm a licensed real estate agent too. So of course I get all the NEFAR stuff and I see the top markets in Florida. Jacksonville's number 1, followed by Tampa and Orlando. So I'm like, okay, well, Orlando's given. I mean, it's tourist central and all the New Yorkers go to Orlando. But I just feel like Jacksonville's still going strong and I probably will be for a while. It's the next big thing. It's a hidden seat. And then now I actually just saw last week that Mayor Curry is actually putting advertisements in like Chicago, LA, and New York about moving to Florida. It's moving to Jacksonville because taxes are cheap, houses are cheap. I mean, you can get a 4-bedroom here for $350 when you can get that up there for almost like $1.2 million with no backyard or garage. So you can definitely get more for your money here.
So do you find there's a particular niche that is more interesting this year that you're finding come up more, or is like you're tackling more than even last year or the years before?
I mean, I feel like with us, I think a lot of our good deals have been coming actually from JVs and our hedge fund buyers. It's just been like blowing up. And I'm like, okay, well, I like this. You know, they have a certain criteria they buy, and you know, we have our buyers that buy for Airbnbs. So it's just a good spot to be in, you know. And the JVs also have been really blowing up with us. Like they, you know, reach out to Hayden often and them.
So how do they get more into that JVing? So for those that don't know or may watch or listen to this later, like how do you get more? Can they get more involved in getting into the JV with Cash Geeks?
I mean, they could reach out to Hayden, and you know, they pretty much, if they have the deal locked up, and I think the guys will also kind of guide them. Hey, you know, this is the criteria you need to be in. I don't know exact the numbers, what they work on, you know, in regards to how to lock up the acquisition deals, but they have a certain percentage that you have to be in to, excuse me, in order to get that deal locked up. And if it's a good property, and it's, depending on the situation, if it's a tenant property that's producing money, or if it's a potential Airbnb property, they're like, hey, you know, let's do it. We can make it happen. But Hayden was definitely the guy that reaches out for our JVs and stuff. So he is, he's our JV guy.
There you go. So you just reach out to Hayden Graham. He does this stuff,
shout
right?
out.
Yeah, shout out Hayden.
I get the royalties. Yay.
There you go. The next couple deals, you'll get the finder's fee from Hayden, right, Hayden? So
I also support him in his JV deals too. So like once he locks them up with the JVers, I will help him, you know, gather on, I need this, and we got to have this all done before we get to dispositions.
Great. I mean, that's an amazing opportunity for investors that don't know what to do, or don't have the amazing dispositions team, or they came across an amazing lead, but they just can't get over to that next step. But they have a Marisol on the team that can do the research and check everything and really pull it across the finish line, and even set eviction things and matters for hearing, right? So like Steele, that was crazy. So we have to know, how do
We
you
actually got that one on the contract, so we're good to go.
Oh, really? So that's going through. It's closing and everything.
I'm just waiting on an update on title because it was pulled early, so I guess they had to re-pull it again because it was within a certain time frame. So yeah, it's rolling.
You got them out.
No, they're set to leave. It was a cash for keys thing that they're getting paid once they're out. So we actually made it to court, to the hearing. The judge goes, they actually got an attorney the day of the hearing, and we're on Zoom. That was my first eviction hearing, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I have the attorney that we're working with. They came up with an attorney, and the judge goes, okay, so this and this and this. Their attorney was like, we would like to go to mediation. She's like, I don't mediate these things. She's like, it's A or B. She's like, I will give you 5 minutes. You figure it out. She goes, if you want to go to court, we'll go to court. She goes, I'm just going to get off camera and you guys work it out. And then their attorney told us that now they were willing to do the cash for keys if they can be out by such time.
Yeah, because I remember it almost turned into
pretty interesting.
Yeah, it almost turned into an adverse possession thing, right? Like where they were trying to say that they had been there for 7 years or paid the taxes, or like what is this?
They actually paid the taxes for I think 10 years straight, and then stopped for 19 and 20 and 21, and that's when the seller hurried up and paid his portion. So I don't know, it was very weird, but we got that one done.
Yeah, I remember you told me. I was like, there's a legitimate claim that can be made there if they did it right? Adverse possession is a whole other world. But when you're working with Marisol, you can overcome these obstacles and overcome challenges, by doing simple things like that, setting it for hearing and getting in front of the judge. I believe in that about matters, right? Get the file moving, get it going. There's got to be a resolution, and there's always going to be a solution. So, Marisol, tell everybody, how do you do this? How do you do work-life balance? You're with Dom all the time. You're at the office. What are those challenges of being super mom and being the super department overhead and doing everything? How do you manage it?
So during during the school year, I normally start my morning between 4:30 and 5. We have 3 kids, 15, 9, and 4. I have to think for the last one. I'm like, so they all attend school. Luckily, they all go to school within the same area. So and Dom is we wake. He's an early riser, so he motivates me to get up early. I'm sorry. My dogs are going crazy. The kids aren't here. They're in New York with their grandparents for the summer. So luckily my house is quiet, but the other 2 are going crazy. And that's another thing, balanced dogs too. So we normally get up between 4 and 5 during the school day. We get the kids ready. During the school year, I try to be at work between 7:30 and 8:30. We start at 9. And for me, it's because I do the office mom stuff. Make sure everybody has caffeine is life. If you've been to Cash Geeks, caffeine is life. There's coffee flowing by the minute. I make sure everything is set up, everybody's good, anybody needs anything. But Dom and I, it's crazy. People are like, oh, you work with your husband, you must be killing each other. We work together, but not together. We don't go to lunch together every day. We try to keep that separate. Most of the time he goes with G so they can have their, powwows and stuff like that. And I try to make sure to, we have our date nights, but try to keep it, balanced. And it can be a little crazy with kids because, you have a child that gets sick, you have to leave to go pick them up. And a lot of times I'll bring them to the office, and luckily the guys are flexible with me with that because of the reason being. But it's good. Tuesday nights, Dom works late and I am fine with that. I'll go home, get everybody settled in, and, I know he works late, so I'm like, all right, that's our time away from each other. You do your thing. If he has to go out of town for a convention or anything like that, I'm like, I kind of enjoy, my peace and quiet. So.
Just work life is tough. You're always in the office and you're trying to balance with the kids. So it's incredible what you're doing, especially 3 kids, managing it at home, even in the office, boss inside and outside the office, right, Dom? And so um, let me ask you this, Marisol. So what's the vision of Cash Geeks? Like where is this headed? Or, is the operation getting bigger? What's going to happen soon?
We are growing. I mean, we are hiring constantly. Don just actually did interviews today. We're looking for people always, salespeople, disposition agents, admin, always a thing. We want to have a strong team. We like to have fun. If you've been to our office, we have 1 minute we are playing hip hop, next minute we're listening to 80s music. So it's a good diverse culture, and especially with the sales guys, they'll crack jokes, and transactions, they'll have their jokes, and everybody has their jokes. But at the end of the day, we all have fun. It's like we know to have fun, but we know we also have to take it seriously. At the end of the day, everybody's excited to hear that big bell ring.
Right, because that means the deal came through. What's the bell? Is it that the deal closed or you got it under contract?
The big bell, so everybody, like the acquisitions teams all have a little desk bell, and the dispositions team has a desk bell. So when we lock up a new deal, they ring their bell, and when Dispo sells the deal to the end buyer, they ring their bell, and transactions rings the big bell when the money has closed and funded. And then the numbers go on the board and everybody gets excited.
That's got to be so exciting. See, that's the culture of Cash Geeks. And it's almost like I could feel that almost being a competition between acquisitions and disposition, right? You hear that bell, everybody's like, oh, we need to head another bell because we got to get it under another deal under locked up. But the big bell, that's the thing. You want that thing ringing all the time, because if that's going, you're raking it in.
And I don't know if you've been to the office recently. Have you seen our wall of core values?
No, not yet.
Oh yeah, so we have a core values wall, and celebration's one of them. Like I said, we like to have fun. We're not afraid to have fun. But at the end of the day, we know we have to come in and bust our butts. So in order for us to have fun, it's just like we have our fun Fridays every month, and we just kick back and play putt-putt. It's a friendly competition. Everybody has their teams, and whoever wins, we get lunch and we get to eat at our desk. That's the big deal. Company provided lunch and bragging rights that we won, and it's cool. I love it.
Again,
we used to do cornhole, but now we're at the new office. It's kind of loud, so I'm trying to convince the guys, let's play outside. Let's play cornhole outside. But they're like, it's too hot. I'm like, it's okay.
We'll bring everybody out of the office, and they'll come out, right?
Right.
So I'll say this again. I think one of the most unique things about Cash Geeks isn't just the operation of getting the deals. I think it's the culture that you all have created, right? That family atmosphere, the building each other up, getting more things, getting more deals, trying to take it to that next level, just showing everybody you can do it, you can get to that next level. So I love what you all are doing. I think that's very unique for a business, and that's not just real estate, that's a business. So keep it up, keep going. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. Marisol, I always have signature questions at the end of my show. You can treat it like a lightning round, or you can let it rip and go on a monologue if you'd like. But I always ask, what is one of the most important tips to locking up a deal?
To me, and I'm like I said, I don't lock up the deals, but to me, it's putting yourself in that person's shoes. Why are they wanting to sell their property? Do they need the money? Are they no longer attached to this property? Are they moving? I mean, we've had sellers that, we have 3 sellers on the contract. 2 want to sell with everything in the house. The other seller wants to empty out the property. So you just got to bring it, to that level. You have to just nurture it. And at the end of the day, put yourself in their shoes and understand why they're doing what they're doing. That's my thing.
Favorite real estate message?
It's just like, I don't even know. Like, it's just, to me, it's just do whatever it takes to make the deal work. Like I said, we've moved people out. We've helped them, actually load up the moving vans. We've done, we've had someone actually drive furniture from Jacksonville to South Carolina in order to make the deal work. It's being able to roll up your sleeves and not be afraid to get dirty. Step out of your job role if you have to. It's just roll it up, jump in, and don't look back.
There you go. And your biggest deal killer that you find, I get a different answer every time, right? So Dom and G, when they were on the show, they said that the tenants were probably the biggest deal killer. They used to think probate was until, I came along, right? So tenants were, but it's like title. It could be appraisers. It could be the lenders holding up the deal. Obviously, title holding up the deal. What do you find when you're doing all of your stuff in the office is the biggest deal killer you come across?
I mean, a lot of times I hear, like I said, some people get emotionally attached to the property. Some people feel for their tenants, and they start, I don't want, I've changed my mind. They want to buy the property from me now. They're going to offer me, X amount more in the end. And I'm trying to think.
Tough question.
It is really tough. It's really tough. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I hear commonly in my spot? And most of the time, like, I want to say it's not the emotional attachment, or even sometimes like title. Sometimes some stuff in title is like too complex. We had a property recently. We can't get a payoff because the mortgage company is closed and there's no record. So that was a huge deal killer. We can't find any record of, the property being paid, the mortgage being paid off. And it's just like a stab in the heart, like, oh my God, it was a good one too. And the seller was like, oh, I don't really want to go through this anymore. I'm just done.
So I'll say I agree with you, because it almost killed a deal that I saw today where the lender, it's been in foreclosure for a year and a half. First of all, never told anybody, it was in the court record, but apparently nobody knew, right? Sellers didn't know until last minute, but they were ready to close on Friday, and the bank wouldn't give us the payoff. So saw those email threads go back and forth with the title company. And you know what? They finally gave everybody the payoff, deal closing on Friday. So I totally understand what you're talking about, because I'm like, how can you not give somebody the payoff? It's time to close. Like, they were on the verge of probably closing and leaving money in escrow to deal with that payoff had it accrued.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy. Well, anybody out there that is watching has questions for Marisol, we're still here. Marisol, give everybody your contact info. How can they get in touch with you? Where are you at? We'll make sure we keep putting up the Chirons, Facebook, Instagram, and who are you looking to reach out to you?
I mean, anyone who needs a question like how do I get in the property, or like the whole cash for keys thing, and Facebook, Marisol Felix. I think Instagram, I think it's real Marisol Felix, and everybody can find me. I'm on Dom's page. I'm always tagging him in silly stuff. He's tagging me on work stuff. So like, if you could find him, you find me. I'm there with him. So so if anybody has any other questions, and we got, even like now I've learned so much between evictions and like even like probate stuff. I'm like, I could work for you soon now.
There you go, right? You know so much about probate.
Jeez, it's crazy. I mean, I've been with them since 2017, so it's like I never thought that I would know as much as I do now, and I'm like flying through. And like, my thing is to know each property to where if somebody asks a question, and I could spit out, oh, it's rented at $800 a month, this and this. I could give all the facts within a minute. I like to study my properties, so that way if anybody comes up, even down to seller names, I try my best, but we have been so busy that I can't get to that point now, which is a good thing. I can't hate on that, but we are doing amazing. But if anybody has any questions on what they might need in order to get in the property, let's say like insurance inspection, or, here's $25, or here's a gift card, or here's, some coffee, we can make it work. They need to get in the property.
And especially if anybody wants to partner up on that acquisition side,
Yeah, let us know.
Get with Marisol so she gets the credit from Hayden, and and you can work with them. So because Cash Geeks has that strong disposition side to their business, fascinating. Because again,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's how the business kind of changed in 2020. So it just keeps sticking in my mind. I get the goal, I get the vision of what you all are doing. So yeah, Marisol, thank you so much for being on the show. You know how much I love the geeks, the Cash Geeks. I love Dominic Felix.
And we love you.
I love you all. Gonzalo, you, Jackie, all of you over there at Cash Geeks. It's incredible. Love the culture. And before we go, any final thoughts, any final tips for those out there?
Don't be afraid to do it. Like I said, I never thought I would be in the position that I'm at now. I always thought I was going to end up being a stay-at-home mom forever. And now I actually love I love what I do. I tell Dom all the time, I love what I do. There's moments where I'm like, I just want to stay home today and not do anything. But just don't be afraid to step out of that box. I never thought in a million years I would be the first one to jump on a phone call and be like, hey, I need to get into property. Like Dom even mentioned, a couple of months ago, he's like, babe, I never thought in a million years. I hated being on a phone. I hate hearing my voice out talking to people because of my accent complex. But now I'm like, hey, and as soon as the best is when I get a seller that's from New York. Like we're like, hey, what part of New York are you from? So that's the good thing. But don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. I actually did it. Never thought I would, but it's amazing. You get a lot done doing that. Never thought I would say that.
It's good. If anybody gets on the phone with the New York crowd, just get Marisol on and they'll make that bond and you'll get that deal done. No problem.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've been here since 2002 and I still have the accent. It's Amazing. Not leaving anytime soon.
And you know what? It really came out on the episode tonight. All the hand gestures, all the animation, and we love it. We love that New York style that you bring. So Marisol, loved having you. Love the Cash.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon at the meetings or even in the office. I'll come when you're playing the 80s music and then transition to the hip hop, right?
Yes. Anytime. You're always welcome. Thank you for having me. Truly honored.
Love it. All right, it's a wrap, everybody. So if you want more content like this, make sure you check out the Al Nicoletti Facebook business page, the Al Nicoletti personal page, the YouTube channel under Al Nicoletti, where I have all these amazing guests like Marisol Felix. And before I keep going, just want to say I love the Cash Geeks crew. I love what they're doing with their culture. I love what they're doing in the community. They're building everybody up. They're trying to help everybody. They are an amazing company to know in the real estate sphere. They're only really getting started in Northeast Florida. I see them conquering all of Florida. That's going to be the hot market. It won't just be Jacksonville. It'll be Florida. So make sure you check them out. And all the amazing guests that have been on my episode from the beginning when the show started till now, it's all over on iTunes and Spotify. You can check all the micro content that's dropping on my Instagram page at Attorney Nicoletti. And there's just tons of content on probate, partitions, quiet title, all educational, informational, and fun videos for you all to learn so you can take your business to the next level. And I will see you next time on the Al Nicoletti Show. Take care.